We know of 8 children who fell into the underground. Kara, Frisk, and 6 more poor souls who perished by Asgore's hand. This is the story of Claire, the second fallen child, whose tragic tale is perfectly recreated by our AI overlord ChatGPT. This is what happened so far as summarized by the AI itself. The story follows a child named Claire, who falls into the underground, a world of monsters. She's found by Toriel, a monster who has isolated herself in the ruins after divorcing Asgore, the king of the monsters, due to his plan to kill humans and use their souls to break the barrier. Toriel, who is still heartbroken by the death of her son Azriel and her adopted child Kara, takes Claire in as her own and protects her from Asgore and his minions. One of the minions, Undyne, visits the ruins, but Toriel manages to convince her that there's no human there. However, Undyne comes back, more suspicious, and demands the human. Toriel, in order to protect Claire, reveals the truth and threatens to attack Undyne if she tries to take Claire with her. Undyne tries to find a compromise, but ultimately Toriel agrees to let Claire go with Undyne and trust her promise to keep Claire safe and to find a way for her to return to the surface. As the time for Claire to leave with Undyne approached, Toriel's heart felt heavy with sadness and fear. She knew that this was the only way to keep Claire safe, but it was hard for her to let go of the child she had grown to love as her own. The two hugged each other tightly, both shedding tears. Toriel held Claire's face in her hands and looked into her eyes.
"My dear child, I know this is hard for both of us,"
she said, her voice filled with emotion.
"But please know that I love you, and I will always be there for you. I will always be your mother, no matter where you are."
Claire looked up at Toriel, tears streaming down her face.
"I love you too, Mom,"
she said, her voice choked with emotion.
"I promise I'll come back to you one day."
The two hugged each other one last time, both knowing that this goodbye was not forever. Toriel knew that she had to let Claire go, but she also knew that she would always be a part of her life, and that she would always love her as her own. As Undyne came to take Claire away, Toriel stood at the doorway, watching them go with a heavy heart. She knew that this was not the end, and that one day Claire would come back to her. She also knew that she had to trust in Undyne's promise and hope that everything will work out in the end. Undyne and Claire set out on their journey, with Undyne leading the way. They walked through the snowy landscape, the cold biting at their faces. Claire shivered, but Undyne offered her cloak to keep her warm. As they walked, Undyne explained to Claire about the different places that they were passing through. She told her about Snowdin Town, a place known for its snowmen and its 2 century brothers, Sans and Papyrus. She also told her about Waterfall, a place known for its beautiful waterfalls and its fish-like inhabitants. As they walked, Claire couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder at the beauty of the underground. She had never seen anything like it before, and she was amazed at the different creatures and places that existed here. Undyne could see the wonder in Claire's eyes, and she smiled. She knew that this journey would be difficult for Claire, but she also knew that she would be able to show her the beauty and wonder of the underground. As they walked, they came across a group of monsters who were dancing and having a good time. Undyne introduced Claire to them, and they welcomed her warmly. They offered her some food and drink, and Claire couldn't help but smile. She was grateful for the kindness of these monsters. As the night started to fall, Undyne and Claire set up camp for the night. They sat around the fire, and Undyne told Claire stories of her adventures and the different monsters she had met. Claire listened with wide eyes, unable to believe the adventures that Undyne had been through. As they sat around the fire, Claire couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. She missed Toriel and the life she had in the ruins, but she also knew that she was safe now and that this journey would lead her back to the surface one day. With that in mind, Claire went to sleep with a sense of hope and determination. She knew that this journey would be difficult, but she also knew that she had to be strong and persevere. She knew that with Undyne by her side, she would be able to make it through. The next morning, Claire woke up with a start. She had been having nightmares about family and friends on the surface, and the thought of never seeing them again. She felt a sense of dread and sadness wash over her. Undyne, who had been keeping watch, noticed that Claire was troubled and asked her what was wrong. Claire explained to her about her nightmares and how she missed her family and friends. Undyne listened with a serious expression, but she had difficulties to talk about emotional topics. She was known for a strong and fierce demeanor, and she was not used to talking about her feelings. So, in order to make Claire feel better, she began to make silly faces and tell jokes. Claire couldn't help but laugh at Undyne's antics, despite her sadness. She knew that Undyne was trying to cheer her up, and she was grateful for her friend's support. As the day went on, Undyne continued to make silly faces and tell jokes, trying to take Claire's mind off of her nightmares. She would pretend to trip and fall, or make silly faces when Claire wasn't looking, making her laugh and forget her troubles. Despite her goofy behavior, Undyne was also very attentive and made sure that Claire was always safe and taken care of. She would carry her heavy backpack and made sure she had enough food and water. She would also make sure that Claire was warm and protected from the cold. As the day went on, Claire found herself feeling better and better. She knew that she still missed her family and friends, but she also knew that she was safe with Undyne by her side. She was grateful for her friend's support and her silly antics, which had helped her to take her mind off of her nightmares and make her feel better. With Undyne's help and support, Claire was able to face her fears and continue on her journey with determination and hope. She knew this journey would be difficult, but with a friend like Undyne by her side, she knew that she could make it through. As Claire and Undyne continue on their journey, they come across a serious threat that puts their life in danger. They stumble upon a group of monsters who are hunting humans for sport. These monsters are known for their brutality and their lack of mercy. They are a ruthless group and will stop at nothing to capture humans for their twisted amusement. Undyne and Claire find themselves in a difficult situation, as they are vastly outnumbered and outmatched. They try to hide and sneak past the group, but they are quickly discovered. The monsters spot them and give chase. Undyne fights with all her might, using her spear to defend herself and Claire. She is a skilled warrior and she manages to hold the monsters off for a while, but they are too many and she is eventually overpowered. Claire's terrified. She has never been in a situation like this before, and she doesn't know what to do. She tries to run, but she's quickly caught by the monsters. They grab her and start to drag her away. Undyne, seeing Claire in danger, fights with renewed vigor. She fights with all her might, but she's still outnumbered and outmatched. She manages to free Claire, but she's badly injured in the process. With Undyne injured and unable to fight, and the monsters closing in, it seems like all hope is lost. But just as the monsters are about to capture them, they are saved by a group of friendly monsters who had been tracking the human hunting group. They drive off the monsters and take Undyne and Claire to safety. The threat has been dealt with, but not without cost. Undyne's injuries are severe, and it's uncertain if she will fully recover. Claire's shaken and traumatized by the experience. The two continue their journey, but now with a renewed sense of caution, and the knowledge that the underground is not always a safe place. The friendly monsters who had saved Undyne and Claire bring them to Snowdin Town, where Undyne will be hospitalized. Snowdin is a small town known for its snowmen and its two sentry brothers, Sans and Papyrus. The friendly monsters bring Undyne and Claire to the local hospital, where Undyne will receive treatment for her injuries. As they enter the hospital, Claire is greeted by the sight of snowmen and other monsters. She is amazed by the different creatures and the friendly atmosphere of the town. Undyne is taken to a private room where she is examined by the doctor. The doctor informs them that her injuries are severe, and that she will need to stay in the hospital for some time to recover. Claire is worried about Undyne and stays by her side, keeping company while she recovers. The two talk and laugh, and Claire helps her with her recovery. As the days pass, Claire becomes more familiar with the people of Snowdin Town. She meets Sans and Papyrus, the two sentry brothers, who take her under their wing and show her around the town. She also makes friends with other monsters who live in the town. Sounds like Papyrus hasn't become a royal guard yet. Claire begins to see the underground in a new light, and she starts to understand that not all monsters are bad. She begins to realize that the underground is a place filled with different creatures, each with their own unique personalities and quirks. As Undyne recovers, Claire starts to feel more and more at home in Snowdin Town. She is happy to have made a few friends, and to have had the opportunity to learn more about the underground. Though the journey is far from over, for now she is content in the safe haven of Snowdin. After Undyne was admitted to the hospital, Claire was left alone in the snowy town of Snowdin. She had no idea what to do next and no one to turn to. She wandered around aimlessly, looking for someone who could help her, but no one seemed to care about her. The days passed by, and Claire started to feel more and more alone. She missed Toriel and Undyne, and she didn't know if she would ever see them again. She tried to keep herself occupied by exploring the town, but there was only so much to see. One day, Claire overheard a conversation between two monsters. They were talking about a mysterious figure who lived in the forest, and was rumored to be able to grant wishes. Claire was intrigued and decided to investigate. She made her way to the forest, and after wandering for hours, she came across a small cottage. She knocked on the door and was greeted by a strange old monster who called herself the Wish Guarantor. The Wish Guarantor promised to grant Claire's wish, but in exchange she demanded a steep price. Claire was desperate and agreed to the Wish Guarantor's terms without hesitation. She didn't realize the gravity of the situation until it was too late. The Wish Grantor took away Claire's ability to feel emotions, leaving her a hollow shell of her former self. Oh, now we are finally getting to a darker part. But what was her wish? Claire was horrified by what had happened to her, but she didn't know how to reverse the Wish Grantor's curse. She tried to continue her journey, hoping that she would eventually find a way to break the curse and regain her emotions. But the curse took a toll on Claire's body and mind. She became weak and lethargic, unable to feel joy or sadness. She stumbled through the forest, barely able to keep herself upright. One day, she collapsed in a clearing, unable to move. She thought it was the end for her, but then she heard a voice calling out to her. She looked up and saw Toriel standing before her, tears streaming down her face. Toriel had been searching for Claire ever since Undyne was hospitalized. When she found Claire lying in the clearing, she knew that something was terribly wrong. She scooped Claire up in her arms and brought her back to the ruins. Toriel tried everything she could think of to break the curse, but nothing seemed to work. Claire was still emotionless, still a shell of her former self. Toriel was heartbroken, but she refused to give up on Claire. She spent every moment with Claire, trying to teach her how to feel again. She showed her pictures of happy memories, played music that used to make her happy, and even cooked her favorite foods. But no matter what Toriel did, Claire remained emotionless. These ideas are actually so clever. I can definitely imagine Toriel doing that in this situation. ChatGPT is incredible at times, wow. One day, Toriel had an idea. She knew that Claire used to love puzzles, so she decided to make her a puzzle that was impossible to solve. She hoped that the challenge would spark something in Claire and help her to regain her emotions. Oh, that's actually ingenious. Claire worked on the puzzle for hours, becoming more and more frustrated that she failed to solve it. But then something miraculous happened. She felt a twinge of frustration, a tiny spark of emotion. Over the next few days, Claire worked tirelessly on the puzzle, slowly regaining her emotions with each passing moment. She cried tears of joy, laughed at silly jokes, and felt the warmth of Toriel's love once again. Eventually, Claire was able to solve the puzzle and break the curse. What? The puzzle was supposed to be impossible. She hugged Toriel tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. She knew that she had a long road ahead of her, but with Toriel by her side, she felt like she could face anything. As Claire looked around the room, she realized she was no longer in Snowdin Town. And no, she's in the ruins now. She was lying on a cold, hard stone floor, surrounded by dark and shadowy figures. Her heart sank as she realized what had happened. She had been taken prisoner by a group of monsters who had allied themselves with Asgore and were actively hunting down humans in the underground. The monsters were rough with her, grabbing her by the arm and dragging her to her feet. She tried to struggle, but their grip was too strong. They pushed her through a narrow hallway, and she stumbled and fell several times. Her knees were scraped and bloody, and her head was throbbing from where she had hit it on the ground. Eventually, they reached a large chamber with high ceilings and torches flickering on the walls. Claire could barely see the faces of the monsters surrounding her, but she could feel their malice and hatred emanating from every direction. She tried to speak, but her voice was hoarse and weak. One of the monsters stepped forward, a tall, skeletal figure with glowing red eyes.
"Welcome, human,"
it said in a low, gravelly voice.
"You have been brought here as a bargaining chip to negotiate with the humans on the surface. Your fate is in our hands now."
Claire's stomach twisted with fear. She had heard rumors of these monsters, of their cruelty and sadism. She had always assumed they were just stories, exaggerated tales to scare humans away from the underground. But now, she realized they were all too real. Yes, this is getting exciting. I don't know how the monsters captured her while she was with Toriel, but who cares? At first I thought the skeleton was Papyrus, but the personality doesn't fit. Maybe we ended up in Undertale? In any case, don't miss the next episode.